Yeah, you did.
All right, Zach, check to see if they're live now.
Well, I think we're on there now. I think we're on there now. Yeah, we're live. Come on, Zach. We're live. You give that to Sam, and we're gonna come on and start.
For their videos.
The video's not.
Can you view it? Yeah, I mean, it says that we're live now. Been live for 36 seconds. Come on, take it.
Not showing up on my phone.
Oh, yeah. I'm watching. There we go. Zach, look down a little bit.
Yeah. All right, Shalom Alaikum, family. We are here again, helping our people understand the solar calendar. Sam, bring me the Holy Bible out the office. Okay. I'd like to address first that we have a bib 1 here, but according to Genesis chapter 1, come closest. When I say come closer, yeah. According to Genesis chapter 1, the evening and the morning constitutes a day. And we look at the calendar, we have it listed as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. But Genesis chapter 1, verse 5, and Yahweh called the light day, and the darkness he called night, and the evening and the morning were the first day. So here we see day 1, but we have to understand that the evening and the morning constitutes a day. So day 1 is actually divided in half. Day 2 is divided in half. Day 3 is divided in half. And here's where we have to understand that day 1 begins down here at the bottom. We have a 0 on the calendar because the evening of the 364th day and the morning of the 365th day is the end of the year. So the evening of the 360, where we have 0, and the morning of day 1, that's day 1. The evening of day 1 and the morning of day 2 is day 2. The evening of day 2 and the morning of day 3 is day 3. The evening of day 3 and the morning of day 4, that's day 4. The evening of day 4 and the morning of day 5 is day 5. The evening of day 5 and the morning of day 6 is the 6th day. Evening of day 6 and the morning of day 7, we have the 7th day green, but it's the morning of day 7. The evening of day 6 and the morning of day 7 is the 7th day. See? Right now, we are out of the 7th day. See? Today being what? The 4th month? What's the day? The 4th month? 17th of June? It's the 9th day of the 4th month today. But we just finished our Sabbath where the evening of the 15th and the morning of the 16th was the 7th day. Now we're in the evening of the 16th. Right? It's June 16th. See? It's the evening of this day and the morning of this day. See, we're already into the next day. understanding that the evening and the morning of a day, the evening and the morning constitutes the day is paramount to understanding how to read the solar calendar. We must understand that. We get comments, Boss Chapter 7, we get comments. One in particular is by someone named Daniel D. Israel. And Daniel D. Israel commented on lesson 33 and 34 that the 30 minute and 55 second mark, or the 31 minute 55 second mark. In any case, what Daniel Israel is trying to point out, and I'm going to help him do it because it is interesting. He's right. I agree with him. And if you listen carefully to that class tape, Yahweh Ben Yahweh is making a point at the end of lesson 33. Yahweh Ben Yahweh says, if you just like that word Saturday, then Saturday could technically be the seventh day on a solar calendar. If you replace 1, 5, 6, 7 with Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, then Saturday would be the seventh day. And Sister Carmel at that point says, thank you for listening. And one of the most critical points in the tape. It cut across Yahweh Ben Yahweh giving a point that has caused all this confusion around the solar calendar. And after all these years with that confusion being given and nobody correcting it, it's become very obvious that Daniel Israel want to make sure that that confusion continues. Daniel D. Israel has a D in his name because D obviously is for deception. Now, Yahweh Ben Yahweh point that he's making is that if you just like that word Saturday, if you replace 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, which is on the solar calendar, with Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, it would be the seventh day every year. But there is no Saturday on a solar calendar. There's only numbers, and Sunday is not always the first day, as you see right here. Our Bib 1 lines up with their March the 11th. And we prove that by no matter what your birth date is, whatever the number is, if you keep that numbered day, it's going to be a different named day every year. That's the proof of the perfection of the solar calendar. The solar calendar is based upon the time it takes the earth to rotate around the sun from a fixed point in the heavens back to that fixed point in the heavens. I mean, it's very loud in my ear. I'm hearing myself. Genesis 1 and 4. And that right there, Genesis 1 and 4, is the equinox. The misconception is we have Hebrews trying to keep a solar calendar using the lunar equinox. You cannot keep a solar calendar using the lunar equinox misconception. You cannot keep a solar calendar using a lunar equinox with a Bib 1 starting on March the 21st. March the 21st is never the beginning of the year on a solar calendar. The solar calendar is based on the fact that a Bib 1 starts when there's 12 hours a day and 12 hours of night in Israel. The Roman calendar aligns with the solar calendar in March 17th. Now, the previous 28 years is not shown here. But by the 28 years, when the Roman calendar realigns with the solar calendar, and Abib 1, 12 hours a day and 12 hours a night, happens on the Roman calendar, and that is the same on the solar calendar, it would be March 17th every year, if not for their Roman leap year system. The Roman leap year system adds a 366 day to a year. It only takes 365 days for the Earth to rotate around the sun. It takes another 5 hours, 48 minutes, and 45.51 seconds for it to realign with the 0 point. Right now, we're in solar year 2018, Roman year 2018, solar year 6022. The Shabbat is sundown Friday to sundown Saturday. And it would be Abib 1 on their March 11th on their calendar. This 28-year cycle proves that what Yahweh ben Yahweh taught us is correct. Anybody that's saying that Saturday is the 7th day on a solar calendar every year has not studied Yahweh ben Yahweh's teachings. This is the 28-year cycle. I see a lot of Hebrews don't understand and will not take the time to understand. There's one class where Yahweh ben Yahweh teach you can get on your knees and pray all night long, and until he reveals it to you, you won't understand it. At the end of the 28-year cycle, Abib 1 is going to be on March the 10th for 1 year. And that's because in 28 years or 7 leap years, the Roman calendar has added 7 days, 2 minutes to the calendar by adding a 366 day to account for the fact that their calendar does not start from 0. So one is on that March 10th for 1 year. March 17th minus 7 is 10. That's how it's March 10th. If you check your time and date site.com, you will see that the solar twilight, it's called, from sunset to sunset. It's an exact sunset. That's what our solar calendar is based on, from sunset to sunset. Our calendar begins with darkness. The day begins with darkness because in the beginning, the earth was, Yahweh created. The earth was without form and void. Void is synonymous with 0. This solar calendar is based on the creation, as is written in the Bible. Yahweh ben Yahweh gave us this because this is the sign of the Son of Man appearing in heaven. This is the sign that's causing all the nations of the earth to mourn, as it reads in Matthew chapter, it is verse 30. See, starting with Exodus 30, Exodus chapter 30, verses 13. Exodus 31. Verse 13. Speak thou also unto between me and you throughout your generations, that you may know that I am the Lord Yahweh that does sanctify you. See, this Sabbath was given to Israel. And when Israel keep the 7th day correctly, there's nobody that can come against Israel and succeed. Our forefathers, we were cursed into America because we did not keep the 7th day. They changed the calendar. They, being the Romans, created the Roman calendar because they knew that they could only defeat us and conquer us if we broke the laws of our Creator. That's how important it is for us to learn the 7th day. And that's why you see so much confusion around the 7th day and our correct understanding of it. They do not want the sign of the Son of Man to return. That's why they're mourning. 31:17. It is a sign between me and the children of Israel. Carefully listen. It is a sign between me and the children of Israel forever. For in 6 days the Lord Yahweh made heaven and earth, and on the 7th day he rested and was refreshed. It's most important that we keep this sign. Matthew 24. Verse 30. And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven. And then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn. And they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. Now they've seen Yahweh ben Yahweh come, and Yahweh ben Yahweh has given us this sign of the 7th day and how to correctly calculate it. All of this confusion surrounding the 7th day is not by accident. It's not by accident. They do not want the children of Israel to wake up and keep the 7th day correctly. That's how important it is. That's why you see all of this confusion surrounding it. That's intentional. We have to understand how to keep the 7th day. Another source of confusion they use is this book right here. No, this isn't the right one. This book here is entitled The Works of Yahweh from Poverty to Riches. And this book has a calendar showing the solar year being 5993. And the only thing that's incorrect here is that this book wasn't started printing the same day it was published. 5993, 1990, 1991 is incorrect. See? What happened, the book was started in 5993. But by the time this book was completed, it was 5994. That's all. This calendar is correct, but it started in 1 year. Our solar calendar encompasses the beginning of the year, of the next year. That's the only error. Call it an error. It's not an error. The calendar is correct, but it wasn't completed the same year that the calendar started. By the time this book was published, it was a new year. And Yahweh ben Yahweh didn't have them go back and change the whole book because the calendar showed the year when the book was started to be published. That's the only error there. There's another book called Solar Time and the Sabbath. Solar Time and the Sabbath book. I thought I had it. I had the wrong one. If you look here on the solar calendar, bring it down here. January, their new year, actually starts in our 10th month. They're January 1. Now you'll see here in February 1 is the 28th day of our 11th month. But every 4 years, when they add a February 29th, February 29 is going to be where March 1st had been for the previous 4 years. That causes our Abib 1 to move by 1 day. That's why on the next year, after their leap year, Abib 1 moves by 1 day, and it would be on their March the 10th. That's what the 28-year cycle is based upon. We will continue to have these classes and share these classes and say the same thing over and over again. When you learn the 28-year cycle, you can correctly calculate when Abib 1 will be on every year. You can correctly calculate when Abib 1 will be. This is what Yahweh ben Yahweh taught us in 1983. And it's imperative. It's most important that we learn. I want to thank and give praises and thanks to all our brothers and sisters that are listening and waking up to understand how to correctly calculate the 28-year cycle and to understand a solar calendar. As a result of our efforts, we are getting more and more requests for solar calendars. We will gladly send you one. I want to close with Ephesians chapter 6. Ephesians chapter 6, verse 12, which says, "For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places." It looks like that. It's right by the curtain. It looks like that. And it's right by the window. Take that one back. Again, excuse me for that. "For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places." Flesh and blood. We wrestle not against flesh and blood. Flesh and blood has skin color. This is not about skin color, but we wrestle against principalities. The Greek word for principalities, if you study that word, you will find that principalities relate to beginnings. It's a noun meaning beginnings. The beginnings is the solar calendar. That's what we're wrestling against. We are under a calendar that is teaching and represents confusion. It is totally against the order of the Creator. And being out of order with the Creator is causing the whole world to be in confusion. That's why we see young men going into churches with guns and shooting people. That's why we see students going into schools and shooting children. That's why it's just pure craziness out there. But that's because the whole world is out of order with creation. Now is the time. Now is the time for the good people, the righteous people of the earth, regardless of your skin color. This isn't about skin color. We wrestle not against flesh and blood. Flesh and blood has skin color. It's against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. It's people that believe and trust in lies and stealing and wicked things. Those are the people that are causing all the confusion in the world and keeping people of different skin colors fighting against each other as if that's the problem. The problem is we're out of order with the Creator. The Creator Yahweh is calling us together now. The righteous people of the earth, it's time for us to stand up, recognize that the solar calendar is the sign of the Son of Man. The solar calendar is the sign of Yahweh ben Yahweh's return to the earth that's going to bring righteousness back into order. And the more of us that look at this calendar, study it, understand it, and we give respect to the seventh day as it was in creation, as it was from the beginning, and things will become righteous again. So with that, I say shalom, shalom alaikum. Looks like I got some questions, so I'm a fellow with some miles on me. This book here, some of you may have seen this book called Solar Time and the Sabbath. This is another attempt at discrediting the teachings of Yahweh ben Yahweh. Whoever wrote this book wasn't even proud enough to put their name on it. This book has good information in it. It has a lot of good information in it. But if you notice, it calls themselves the witnesses of Yahweh ben Yahweh. They are not witnessing to what he taught. If you want to hear the teachings of Yahweh ben Yahweh, Boss Chapter 7 will gladly send you a copy so that you can hear it with your own ears what he taught. I see some questions down here. We got some there. Anybody that want a solar calendar, John Doe, your question. The solar calendar is for a regular year or only like a leap year? The solar calendar is an accurate calculation of the time it takes the earth to rotate around the sun. It is in tune and harmony with the scriptures, the Holy Bible. And it's not just for a leap year. The leap year is a trick. It's just a trick. The leap year, from what I've studied, is based upon the fact that the Roman number system does not have a zero. If you look at your Roman numbers, they got X, V, L, M, C, but no zero. And trying to count time without a zero, starting from 1 or the I, is like saying that you're born 1 day old. You're not born 1 day old. Nobody's born 1 day old. You're not even born 1 second old. The moment you pop out and start counting time, you're at zero. And it's the same thing for our year. You start from zero. The evening of the 365th day and the morning of the first day is day 1. So I hope that answered your question. Donald Christie, excuse me, maybe I shouldn't, but your name is out there, so I guess it's okay if I call your name. I'm addressing the question from Donald Christie. Hopefully, maybe that's not even your real name. The night comes before the day. That's correct. The evening and the morning. John Doe. June is not the 6th month on a solar calendar. June is the 6th month on a Roman calendar. I don't understand this other thing here, Leviticus 23 and the Moed. I don't know what that is. This thing about June is the 3rd month. The Roman calendar days and months do not line up with the solar calendar days and months. It's just simple as that. I understand a solar calendar, you would have to actually just get that out your mind. The Roman calendar actually realigns itself with the solar calendar every 28 years because the Roman calendar recognizes the fact that it's incorrect. Today is the 9th day of the 4th month on the solar calendar. The Roman June 17th. Or yes. No, I'm not. What is the Roman calendar? Today is the 16th on the Roman calendar?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So it's the 8th day of the 4th month. That's what day it is today on the Roman calendar. Say Jones, Shalom, are we saying that we stand to be corrected as this being final year 6022? I don't understand that question. We're still live, so hopefully you can still hear me. I'm trying to answer these questions that are being asked. So if you type it in, I'll respond to it right now. I'm going to type in the for a free copy of the solar package as taught by the Honorable Yahweh ben Yahweh. Just email Boss Chapter 7. BOSSCH7 @gmail. I don't know what final year means in respecting to Say Jones. final year 6022. This is the solar year 6022. But I can't say anything is final. The earth is to be inhabited forever. Heaven and hell is here on earth. Joseph Graham, your question poses a lot of assumptions. Your question proposes that Christ's physical birth took place and that Christ's physical death took place. And you asked me to speak on a preposition or something that is hypothetical. So I can only answer you that scripturally, Hebrew, I'm going to answer your question with the word because your question is based on a presumption. The book of Hebrews, I believe it's chapter 7, verse 1, addresses what you're saying. And your whole proposition is not according to as I study. Hebrews chapter 7, verse 1, for this Melchizedek, king of Salem, priest of the Most High God Yahweh, who met Abraham returning from the slaughter of the kings and blessed him. Verse 2, to whom also Abraham gave a tenth part of all, first being by interpretation, king of righteousness, and after that also king of Salem, which is king of peace. Now verse 3 answers your question. Without father, without mother, without descent, having neither beginning of days nor end of life, but made like unto the Son of God, Yahweh, abideth a priest continually. So this Christ, as I understand him to be, is without father, without mother, without descent, having neither beginning of days nor end of life, but made like unto the Son of God. Now, Hebrew Son of God is Ben Yahweh. But if the Father's name is Yahweh, the Son's name is Yahweh. So that's why we refer to the Son of God as Yahweh Ben Yahweh. Just like your name here, Jones, you the son of Jones. In some countries, they say Jones' son or Johnson. But if the Father's name is Jones, the Son's name is Jones. You named after your father. The Father's name is Yahweh. His Son's name is Yahweh. So we say Yahweh Ben Yahweh. That's Hebrew. So these people that you quoting, Zondervan, they are not Yahweh Ben Yahweh. And this Christ, or that you refer to, the Christ is Yahweh Ben Yahweh. And they said to be the Garden of Eden is past Antarctica at the North Pole. I don't know. Okay, they said. Solar year 6022. Yes. So question, say Jones. The present year is 6022. Understand that the solar year is counted in the moment. We don't count the year after it's gone. We count the year in the moment. This is the 8th day of the 4th month, 6022. Actually, we have started the 9th day in the solar calendar because the evening and the morning, the sunset, we're already into the 9th day. So the evening of the 8th day and the morning of the 9th day is the 9th day. So we're actually in the 9th day now. We just finished our Shabbat when it was the 8th day of the 4th month, which began at the evening of the 7th day, which lined up with their sundown Friday till sundown Saturday. Yes, is that Levi? Levi Israel? That's why we're giving this. He said, nation seems to not be in unison on whether it's the year 6021 or 6022. And he says, therefore, they agree and disagree. It's very troubling. Well, it's not so troubling, Brother Levi, if you're not researching. If it's troubling to you, then research it. I offer again as proof what year it is. Wait a minute here. How do we do it? I'm pointing the wrong way. Here. Can you see what I'm pointing at? Yeah. Taught us that the solar year 5996 was in 1992. All right. Now, that was the closing of the 7 leap years. Abib 1 was on March 10th. If you want the class tape on that, we'll gladly send it to you. And that's why they're not in using. Anybody that tells you that the year is 6021 do not understand the 28-year cycle as taught by Yahweh ben Yahweh. That's why it's not in unison. And I don't want to agree to disagree. I want to prove all things. That's what Yahweh ben Yahweh taught us. Prove it. And this 28-year cycle, as taught by Yahweh ben Yahweh, proves what year it is. 1992, 5996, it was the closing. That's year 0. That's where the starting point is. You start from 0 and all things. Counting from 1. Now, I presume that they get the year 6021 because they've done a mathematical calculation based on the year 4003, the year that they killed the man Yeshua, because this calendar is based on the year that they killed him. But I don't know because it's wrong. It's in error. 1993, 5997. 1994, 5998. Now go listen to the closing of the 7 and you will see Yahweh ben Yahweh teach that over and over again. We'll gladly send you the class tapes that you can research it for yourself. This is all based on taught, not agree to disagree. That's a cop-out. They add a 4th day, they add a 329th day. Let me calm down here and get a hold of myself. They add a 366th day, which is their February 29th. Abib 1 is going to change from March 17th. It's going to move by 1 day because they added an extra day to the year. 366 days added is going to make Abib 1 move by 1 day. And that's what happened. See? Then the next leap year, they do the same thing. See? Every 4 years, they do that. See? They had a February 29th. Abib 1 moves by 1 day. See? They did it again. Abib 1 moves by 1 day every time they add a February 29th. Yahweh ben Yahweh teaches that on Preparing for the Rulership, lesson 33 and 34. Listen to it for yourself, study the 28-year cycle, and you'll see that this lines up with what he taught. This proves what we're showing. That's what we do. We prove it. See, right now we're in 2018, lines up with their 6022. The Shabbat is Friday to Saturday. These same people that are telling you the year is 6021, they tell you that the Sabbath is sundown Friday to sundown Saturday every year. That's impossible. That's impossible. Regardless of what your birthday is, it's on a different named day. If you keep the 18th of any month, that 18th, if it's Monday this year, it's going to be Tuesday the next year. See? So it's impossible to say that the 7th day is Saturday every year on any calendar. Prove all things. Yes, sir. So this proves it, and that's why we are giving these lessons. Yes, John Doe. Yesterday was the Sabbath, which is in green. The Sabbath, the 7th day is marked in green, and you keep the 7th day. We don't keep any named day. We keep the 7th day. And again, if you keep the numbered day of your birth, it's going to be a different named day every year. Now here is Exodus 3:14. The most says his name is I am that I am. Now read verse 15 and you'll see that that's not true. He want to talk about the name now. Read verse 15 and it tells you that his name is, and they got the Lord in all capitals there. So I am that I am is not a name, that's a statement. Prove all things. Joseph Graham, I don't teach anything. I'm a student, brother. I'm just like you or anybody else on I'm just like anybody else on this call. I'm a student of the teacher who Yahweh ben Yahweh. He is the teacher, the master teacher. I'm just obedient to what he said do. And what I'm doing is sharing what I have studied concerning his teachings. Yahweh ben Yahweh is the master teacher. And the book that he taught us from was the King James version of the Bible, but he taught us to research all things and study all things and seek to understand the very nature of that thing, and then use what you learn to better yourself and your nation as a whole. So we study everything. We studied the book of Jubilees. So yes, I've read some of that, but I'm not the teacher. I'm just sharing what Yahweh ben Yahweh has given us, because they are intentionally attacking how to read the solar calendar, and they're trying to exclude altogether the 28-year cycle. The 28-year cycle is the only way that we can comprehend a solar calendar, because this Roman calendar is not based upon the time it takes the earth to rotate around the sun. And brother Chico Suave, I like the name you chose. But first, let me is that Shalia Israel? Thanks for sharing your knowledge and wisdom. Can you please tell me what week you're in recharging? I don't understand your question. What week you're in recharging the Shabbat home study guide? I don't understand that question now, Sister Shalia. This one. Can you please tell me what week you're in recharging the Shabbat?
Oh, what week you're in regarding the Sabbath?
Oh, in the Shabbat home study guide? Sister Shalia, from my knowledge, the Shabbat home study guide is not a solar calendar. It's not based on the teachings of the Honorable Yahweh ben Yahweh. The solar calendar that they're presenting, they base it on Abib 1 being March 21st. That's incorrect. So their weeks don't line up with the solar calendar. And again, this is intentional. I say they are intentionally keeping our people from coming together. And they're doing it namely through some individual calling himself Daniel D. Israel. He's putting himself out there on Facebook and on YouTube and other places, pretending to be a student of Yahweh ben Yahweh, and have made such ludicrous remarks as P's revised time. Again, the solar calendar is based upon the time it takes the earth to rotate around the sun. It does not change. You can't change that. Yahweh set that in order, and that's one of the foundations. We're keeping the same seventh day that Moses kept. We're keeping the same seventh day the way Solomon kept it. If you look at our solar calendar and the way we have the feast days lined up, and you check the feast in the book of Kings, when Solomon gave the feast, you'll see that our dates line up with the feast dates. All of our feasts start with the Sabbath and end with the Sabbath. They connect with the Sabbath the way that Yahweh gave it to us. And this calendar aligns itself with the Holy Scriptures, the way Yahweh gave it to us. This calendar is holy. This is what Yahweh ben Yahweh taught us. This is the salvation that only Yahweh ben Yahweh can bring. You know, he says, troubling one God, one mind, one love, and one action. We have to be one with Yahweh ben Yahweh. We aren't one with anybody else because they don't study. They want us to be one because they feel like they have a carte blanche to Yahweh ben Yahweh because they lived in Miami. That don't make you one with Yahweh ben Yahweh. What make you one with Yahweh ben Yahweh? When you study, you show yourself approved. If you can prove the solar calendar, then you will understand what's given here is correct. This is what proves Yahweh ben Yahweh. Study. 2 Timothy 2:15, study to show thyself approved unto Yahweh, a workman that needeth not to be ashamed. Rightly dividing the word of truth. Not just say, oh, we agree to disagree. Prove it. Prove it. This isn't about nothing else but love. This is all about love. Prove it. Levi Israel, I've been informed. Now, he says he's been informed to be one will be on March 19th. Again, that's using the Roman date. The misconception there being that the equinox is when the sun shines on half of the earth. That's why they say a big one will be on March 19th. Brother Levi, I recommend that you study for yourself and go to Genesis chapter 1, verse 4. And I'm going to read it to you. You came in late, and we shared this earlier, but I don't mind saying it again. Matter of fact, I love the fact that you're bringing that out. Genesis chapter 1, verse 4. And Yahweh saw the light, that it was good, and Yahweh divided the light from the darkness. Dividing the light from the darkness, that's the equinox. That's the definition of what an equinox is. You know? That's the equinox. Yahweh called the light day, and the darkness he called night, and the evening and the morning were the first day. Now, this equinox, this phenomenon called the equinox, is for Israel. We were commanded in Exodus 31:13 and Exodus 31:17. This is a sign between Yahweh and Israel forever. This thing of March the 19th is something that the Roman calendar uses. That day is dedicated to a Roman deity called Attys. We're not even to make mention of their name, of the name of any god. So if someone informed you that, then inform them that I just taught you, or since you want to tell about what people informed you, I just informed you that March 19th is a day on the Roman calendar. See, that is not when there's the equinox in Israel. The equinox in Israel would be March 17th every year on the Roman calendar. March 17th would be when there's 12 hours a day and 12 hours of night. That's what our equinox is based on, dividing the light from the darkness, and the evening and the morning is a day. The earth is a sphere. And because of that fact, it's impossible for the equinox to be the same day all over the planet. Because right now, it's already another day in certain parts of the world in the east, because the sun has already risen. Abib 1 would be on their March 17th every year, if not for the Roman leap year system. It is never on March 19th on a solar calendar. Study it for yourself. Now, here is Kimmel Israel. Brother Yoel. I'm glad he's addressing that to Brother Yoel. Who created the Peace Foundation, and where do you purchase your lessons from that you have on Yahweh ben Yahweh? I'm not Brother Yoel, but I'm Brother Zechariah. Apologies if I never introduced myself. I'm not Brother Yoel. It is my understanding that Yahweh ben Yahweh created the Peace Foundation. And my lessons were not purchased from Peace Foundation. My lessons were created before Peace Foundation was created. These lessons are before they have been edited by Peace Foundation. and the lessons that you listen to have not been edited by Peace Foundation. So what we're sharing with you is straight Yahweh ben Yahweh. Okay, can they hear you, brother Yamin? Okay, all right. The lessons that we share with you concerning solar time, Peace Foundation won't even make them available. So therefore, I'm telling you now, Kemuel Yisrael, that is Peace Foundation that's trying to destroy the works of Yahweh ben Yahweh. It's Peace Foundation that refused to put this knowledge out. The lessons that I'm giving you are straight from Yahweh ben Yahweh. And the Peace Foundation has been infiltrated by Daniel, Deception, Israel, and whoever else is over there. And they're intentionally keeping the followers of Yahweh ben Yahweh from the seventh day because they know that if our people follow the seventh day, that it's going to make a difference. I say study for yourself. Yes, I said it. Zechariah Israel said that the Peace Foundation is intentionally misleading our people from the seventh day. You want a close up? I'm the brother that said it. I support Yahweh ben Yahweh. Chico Suave, wolves in sheep's clothing. Yes, sir. We wrestle not against flesh and blood. You talk about spiritual wickedness in high places. Shalia Israel. Okay, I understand what you said regarding the solar calendar, but I was referencing the weekly readings of the Torah and the foundation scripture, where there's week 1 through 52. Sister, we don't follow nothing but the solar calendar as taught by Yahweh ben Yahweh. So if you would like, we have what is known as a chapter for every day of the year that Yahweh ben Yahweh published. We actually copied that from the original Black Bible that Yahweh ben Yahweh published. And that's what we follow. I'm not against anything. I'm for Yahweh ben Yahweh. Peace Foundation is not teaching what Yahweh ben Yahweh taught. This book that I pointed out earlier, this book, I don't know if you can see it, Solar Time and the Sabbath. It looked like it's backwards to me. This book right here is not what Yahweh ben Yahweh taught. This book is available from Peace. They got the year wrong. It doesn't even mention the solar time and the Sabbath. And whoever wrote it called themselves witnesses of Yahweh ben Yahweh. That's a lie. That's an outright lie. And if you want to know that that's a lie, we will send you copies of the class taught by Yahweh ben Yahweh so you can hear for yourself that they're lying on them. They're not witnessing to what he taught. They won't even. Go ahead. Right. This book here doesn't even have the 28-year cycle in it. And Yahweh ben Yahweh teach that there's no way you can keep a solar calendar unless you know the 28-year cycle. They intentionally don't want our people to understand how to calculate a solar calendar. It's Peace Foundation that created all this confusion around the seventh day. And Daniel D. Israel is the main one helping them do it. I say the D stands for deception. I invite them to come. I invite anybody with Peace to come and prove to me, anybody that's saying the year is 6021, they're saying that a Bib 1 is on March the 19th. I invite any of them to come on this conference call, the conference call that we have every week. Come and study it openly. Prove that what you're saying is correct. Prove that the solar year is 6021 based on your studies. Prove that March 19th is a Bib 1. Prove it. I've proven to you what Yahweh ben Yahweh taught. I'll offer the classes for free, what he taught. I offer the calendar that he taught for free. Chico Suave, you're welcome. You're welcome to a calendar. If I didn't finish my point with Sister Shalia, we will gladly send you a copy of a chapter for every day as taught by Yahweh ben Yahweh. We'll give you a copy of that. Chico Suave, if you want a calendar, just email Boss Chapter 7. It's up higher. Just look up in the chat. Email United States Postal Service address, and we will send you one. Joseph Graham, to get the concept of the solar calendar, one have to read Jubilees and or Enoch. It states 4 seasons, 30 days, first 30 days and second month, 31 days, third month. Each season, how do you get 28 days to a month? Joseph Graham, the solar calendar that is taught to us by Yahweh Ben Yahweh, we don't have 28 days to a month. The calendar that you're referring to is not a solar calendar. This 30 days, 31, that is what they call the Enoch calendar. The Enoch calendar is based upon lunar cycles, and it only has 364 days. The solar calendar that I'm sharing with you is based upon the time it takes Earth to rotate around the sun. There are 12 months of 30 days each. And at the end of the 12th month, there's a 5-day counting cycle. And then you start back from day one. You go back to the top of the calendar. So it's 365 days in a year. But because this calendar starts from 0, it correctly accounts for the 5 hours, 48 minutes, and 45.51 seconds that it takes for the Earth to rotate around the sun. Unlike the Enoch calendar. The Enoch calendar only counts lunar cycles. It's based upon the moon. You have 13 lunar cycles of 28 days. And that's why the Enoch calendar only has 364 days, which is 13 times 28. It does not correctly account for the time that it takes for the Earth to rotate around the sun. And that's why that calendar is a day, almost a day and a quarter short every year. Eventually, if you keep the Enoch calendar, eventually your summer will be in the winter. Your seasons would be off. So we do not use, Yahweh said that the sun rules the day. So you presented a question in the form of a whole bunch of presumptions that were incorrect. I answered your question to the best of my ability, but we were glad to give you a solar calendar that correctly calculates the time it takes the Earth to rotate around the sun from a fixed point in the heaven called equinox. Equinox for that part of North Africa that's called Israel today. See, that's what this calendar is based upon. There's no way you can calculate this time it takes the Earth to rotate around the sun correctly with any other calendar other than this one that our forefathers created, that was given to us by Yahweh. This calendar is perfect. It does not vary. And it's always the 7th day. You never lose the 7th day. Oh, wow, thanks. I did not know that Boss Brothers and Peas were 2 separate entities. I attended one feast to pass on time in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. I need new info, brother. Yes, I'm old enough, sister. I have attended feasts with Yahweh Ben Yahweh as well as feasts with Peas in Montreal. I follow the teachings of Yahweh Ben Yahweh. I don't follow anybody else. Yahweh Ben Yahweh did not leave anybody in authority over him. Now, here we got Joseph Graham saying that the Bible states the earth is fixed and everything moves around the earth. Okay, brother. If you say so. I just read the first 5 books, the first 5 verses of Genesis chapter 1. And you saying that the Bible said it, and I see you writing it, but I don't hear the Bible saying it. In the beginning, God, Yahweh created the heaven and the earth, and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And we can go on, and it'll get into when he created the great light to rule the day, and we call that great light the sun. And you saying now that the sun revolves around the earth. The earth doesn't revolve around the sun. So you prove that, Brother Graham, on the next call. You can prove that. I'm not even going to get into that discussion with you. But you offer information to prove that. Because right now you're saying the Bible's plural. I'm not even going to address that. It's been about an hour. It's been a little over an hour. I think we need to close on that one. Shalom Alaikum family. We'll be back next Saturday. And Joseph Graham, you're welcome to show back with your information. Levi, you're welcome to come back with your information. And I'm going to have the same cards that I have here, the same visuals. Hopefully by then we can get some better camera equipment so that you won't have to look at me. We want to have it focused on our visuals. But with that, Shalom Alaikum. I love my family. Praise Yahweh, Ben Yahweh forever.